Hello world, Dano here, stacking paper as always, and today we are doing a review of Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. It's the first book in the Farseer trilogy, a very well-regarded fantasy trilogy by a pretty well-known author, Robin Hobb. Before I start, I'm just going to say that going forward, I think I'm going to do spoiler-free, at least for the first chunk of my videos, and then I'll just announce when the spoilers are coming, just because it would be nice if people who haven't read the books can actually enjoy at least a little bit of the review, or just get to know if it's something they'll like before I just go right into yapping about the story. So for starters, I give this book like a 7.5. Like, the prose is really good, the character work is incredible, but that's the thing, it's a foundation setting book. It's all character. There's pretty much no plot up until, 3/4 of the way through the book. It's just people just having interactions. And it's fine because it's really well written, but I'm trying to be a little more conservative because I can tell that the second book, at least from what I can see online, people consider it to be the opus, like it's the peak. So I'm trying to leave a little wiggle room for like a higher rating potentially. Maybe that's a stupid thing to do, but I don't know. I'm just trying to be honest. But it's the story of a bastard, a kid who was born out of wedlock to a king in waiting, and it's a lot of slice of life stuff, really. Especially the first bit. It's just him kind of going around, learning what it's like to be like a stable hand, and then slowly various other things, like people just keep giving him more and more shit to do. Like the kid gets no sleep. And there's a cool magic system that you're kept very in the dark about, even throughout the whole novel. That's why I won't get into it until the spoiler section, but it's very wholesome. It's got a lot of emotional kind of gut punches, especially if you like animals. If you're a fan of dogs, prepare yourself. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really good, like, again, foundation setting novel. But that's why I kind of slack a bit on the score, just because a lot of first books in fantasy, for them to be truly good first books, I want them to set a foundation, but also be their own book, have their own thing going on, particularly with plot. It's why, like, the first Mistborn, for example, I think is one of the best examples of a first book in fantasy. Whereas this one, you can tell it's a lot of setting up, for the next season, so to speak. But like, it keeps you interested because there's so much stuff within the world. When it comes to other factions or lore, that it just teases you on, and it makes you really want to get to the next one. But as good as that is, it does take away a little bit from the first book, I find. But yeah, now into the spoiler section. I'm just going to start talking about it now. So Fitz really goes through some shit in this book. So Burke is his main man. He learns to be a stable boy, and because he can tell that he can care for animals. But Fitz has this power called the wit that lets him telepathically communicate with animals and like form bonds with them. And Burke shuts this shit down real quick, explaining that it's like an abomination and eventually he's gonna lose himself. Burke is, you love the character because you can tell he takes like this parental role, because his father, Mr. Chivalry, that's another cool thing. I like the titles that all the characters have. You got Shrewd and Regal and Chivalry, and this belief that these names actually are imbued with some kind of magic, and the people that are assigned these names, particularly like the Farseers, right? They take on the attributes of these names, like Verity, like Shrewd, definitely like Regal. Fuck that guy. I really like the Red Ship Raiders as an antagonistic force because we get so little of them, but what we do get of them is so intriguing because they're clearly using a magic of their own that we don't understand. You know, they're kidnapping people and telling the king, hey, pay us money or we'll give them back to you. And if you don't give us money, we'll give them back to you. If you do give us money, we'll kill them. And like the first time you hear that ultimatum, you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? That makes no sense. So they don't give them money. They're like, okay, we'll give them back to you. But they are husks of their former selves. They use some kind of magic to turn them into these just unthinking, just desire-filled monsters that just roam the countryside and fucking kill and, you know, rob people. And it just slowly happens throughout the kingdom. And Verity, you get like a cool look at the skill from his part where he's just sitting in his tower sending telepathic messages to all these raiders so that they don't go to their coast and they get lost in circles. So the magic is really cool. It kind of feels like it's basically telepathy, but with a little bit extra. Like, you know, you can suggest things, you can implant ideas, you know, like kind of Inception. And Fitz starts getting taught the skill by Galen, this scumbag, who clearly has it out for him, right? A big part of this novel is the fact that Fitz just can't escape the shadow of his father. He never meets his father. He never will, because apparently he's dead. But it's a fantasy novel, so if I haven't seen a body, I won't believe it until we don't see him. But his wife, Lady Patience, is a really great character. You can see that she really is striving for that. She wanted to give him a son, but she never could. I guess she's barren. Because that, like, a big part of this is the fact that Chivalry really was this chivalrous guy. He was set up to be the best king that they could ever ask for. But he went out and had a bastard, and it's kind of just a shocking thing because it's like this is the one guy in the family that definitely wouldn't do that, so why would he do that? He clearly knows something. Maybe like prophecy will tie into this. You know, it is fantasy after all. But yeah, I like that you get this feeling that all of these characters have so much history together, and it shows how, you know, the fate of a kingdom and its people can sometimes hinge on these really petty things, to the point of like interpersonal relationships are kind of forging how this kingdom happens, and like the inner goings of the castle and the royalty and, you know, how they run shit. You know, it does come down to these like little moments that they have with, like, it's like fucking soap opera level shit, but it's cool how that expands out. And I do like that you don't get like this true epic fantasy scope, because it's told in first person, and it's pretty jarring for an epic fantasy to be told in first person, because you do have like this history, there's a map, there's fucking lore between different factions and how stuff comes to be. They do a good the author. I like that you get these little blurbs before every chapter in italics that gives you, you know, lore and exposition based off of whatever the last chapter ended on. And because this whole story is being told in retrospect, it's an older Fitz Chivalry telling this story as an older man. We don't know how old. And he's just writing his story down, and that's why you're getting this really internal perspective. But it's a limited perspective because it's first person. You only know what Fitz knows. You don't get to see other characters' points of view, like, you know, like something like Wheel of Time or Song of Ice and Fire, where you're getting these different views from all these other people looking at each other and thinking that someone is thinking something, but then you get that character's point of view and realize that it's something different. You don't get any of that hyper complexity. You just get Fitz's point of view. But you also get his retrospect too. You get his point of view in the moment, as well as stuff is just thrown in the book of like, oh, I thought this at this time, but I would go on to learn that it was totally different. So definitely that should add like reread value down the road if I ever return to this series. I gotta finish it first. I definitely will, because it, as slow as it is, because it is a really fucking slow book, the climax is amazing. The finale of Fitz getting fucked over by Regal, opening himself up to the skill. You get this like crazy Professor X, I'm in two places at once, watching two things happen through other people's eyes. You get Verity almost getting killed by Galen until Fitz lets him know. You get the Prince of the Mountain Kingdom getting assassinated unknowingly by Fitz, but not by Fitz, because Fitz is telling them, what's going on. The scene where the princess reveals to him that, yeah, Regal told me you were coming to assassinate, my brother. And then Fitz realizing that he just got poisoned and then he's got to expel himself out. And it's so funny how candid he is with the prince and with the princess about this whole poisoning and what's going on. Like at one point he goes to her room and he said, hey, listen, if I killed your brother, would you still follow through with the marriage? And she goes, yeah, but I would definitely kill you. And he's like, okay, BRB. Immediately goes to the brother's room, right? And like she runs after him like, oh, he's gonna kill you. They start joking, but then turns out the wine was poisoned by Regal anyway. So you get a lot of these like chess moves happening, and then a really sad ending with the dog. His dog Nosy that he thought Beric killed. Turns out he sent him to the Mountain Kingdom, and he just saves Fitz's life because Regal is completely fucking useless and couldn't kill someone if he tried. Yeah, honestly, it's a good start. I kind of wish the plot was a little more intricate, but I guess that's just my own personal taste. But the character work is definitely there, and I'm definitely excited to see where the series goes. What else am I reading right now? So we're doing High Fidelity for the book club, which I'm super excited about because I love that movie. I'm a vinyl record geek, so it definitely plays to my personal bias. But it's just really funny and really real, especially if you've been through a couple of relationships and know what a breakup's like. Yeah, definitely a real book. And then on the side for myself, I'm reading Babel 17 by Samuel R. Delany. Some early, I would say, pioneering cyberpunk, to be honest. But, it's about language. It's about how it forms our consciousness and all that good sci-fi stuff, discorporate bodies and shit. We love it. So, yeah, stay tuned for that in the future. Take it easy.